Yes, we are live. I feel like this thing doesn't give enough of a warning. But what is up, everybody? This is Katrina from In Cat We Trust, and I am joined by the absolutely beautiful, fabulous, lovely Captain Shakespeare from Unpopular Review. How are you today?
I'm doing good. It's my off day. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a big hectic, and so that's why you guys didn't see us last week. I had a show to do on Wednesday, and I was kind of tired, and so needed to kind of recharge and get myself together. But I'm enjoying doing the shows. Everybody's been really sweet, very kind, and so what more can you ask for? But we last time you saw us, which was 2 weeks ago, we talked about WWE Evil episode 1, which was Hulk Hollywood Hogan, and yeah, saw us ranting and stuff about it a bit. But this episode 2, is about the Miz, the Hollywood A-lister. Okay, we're talking about the Miz. So I actually really, really liked this episode. I was like, I know he can be an asshole. I feel like the Miz always gave me asshole vibes.
Mm-hmm.
In general, he just like kind of rubs you a bit the wrong way, but it was kind of nice, I guess, seeing like I guess his path to kind of realize like I can do this and like it's very I can't even think of like on my hands is probably really low as many times he's been probably face. He's usually a heel, a bit arrogant, kind of like you just want to punch him a little bit. And so it was actually really nice to see that. And so I did like I guess before I guess we break it down, like what were your like first initial thoughts I guess about the episode?
I liked it. I'm a big fan of the challenge. So when they started off with talking about, the real world, I'm like, I'm tuned in. It's like you already got me. You already got me. Um, yeah, and I'm really close to this because again, I've watched Real World and I've watched them from the very beginning, and just seeing how far he's come in, the business is crazy to me.
Yeah, I remember him from Real World as well. And so I used to watch Real World when I was younger. I don't really watch a lot of reality TV anymore just because I hate sometimes how ignorant it's so the contestants sometimes. Like it's obviously it's meant to kind of hype up the drama, but because that's always what it focuses on, it's really hard for me now to watch reality TV. It's like, why do everybody got to be like extra extra in the drama all the time? Like that was the one thing I liked. Just quick side note about like Naomi with Total Divas, where she was so chill and kind of laid back and relaxed, and so you didn't really see her in drama. Like, you're like, hey girl, we friends, but then you're in the green room talking all types of shit. And so I feel like unfortunately reality TV is like embedded in let's have mad drama, let's have all these problems. And maybe it's like, amped up because you want ratings. But for me personally, it's just very draining, and so I don't really watch reality TV anymore. But I definitely did watch The Real World back then when he was on there, and he was super annoying. He's like that one wrestling guy you might have known in school that was just always doing the absolute most. It's like I'm a wrestling fan too, but calm down. Like we don't want to do this during lunch, trying to eat lunch, and here you are trying to, you know, do a rock bottom with somebody. Like he gave me those vibes in the real world. I'm like, all right, bro, like we know you like wrestling, but I do respect that he said that's what he wanted to do, and he actually made it happen and did so consistently. And there's not too many wrestlers you can say that has longevity like that, not only in just one promotion, but also where they're not really injured. They're like, still kind of still going, and it's not like you're kind of looking like maybe it's time to kind of end. You know, maybe you shouldn't be wrestling anymore. Like he's not there yet to that point where you're kind of like, it's not the same level of watching where you're kind of concerned. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
you might be hitting these moves to say like this ouch, this look a little painful now. Like you're not hitting the moves. Like I love Jeff Hardy, but sometimes now it does look like he's a bit slowed down, and like he probably shouldn't hit as many of the crazy moves he was doing like 10 years ago. And so he's
Yeah.
one of the few people I can definitely say that's been very consistent. You kind of know what to get out of them is he's very reliable. And so, how did you feel about I guess when he first started saying like how it was when he first got into WWE because he did complain about how he was treated because he was from reality TV. So what were your thoughts as far as him talking about that?
I thought that was so childish and so frat boyish. I'm just so glad that, from what we know, they've moved, past that, or they've moved to a place where it isn't stuff like that. Because I feel like that's so petty. Like, everybody finds their way in here. I'm sure there's many other people who found their way into this company the way, I don't know what the way is. Anyone, even a person who probably struggled to get into, the wrestling business, I'm sure they'd be like, yeah, I probably wouldn't want to do half the stuff that I did. If it was an easier coast, I would have loved to take that.
Yeah.
Like, why would someone purposely want to do, if it's an easier way to get there, why not take it? I don't understand.
Yeah.
People purposely make their lives more difficult. They feel like, well, I need to do it this way so that people can respect me. Who gives a shit about people? Do what's going to be the easiest for you on your body, on your life, on your time on this earth. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely do think some people have this whole mentality, like, if I struggled, you need to struggle too, which is a bit like ridiculous. Like, of course, nobody wants to struggle. I mean, not intentionally. Like, shit happens. You hope that if you got to struggle and it made you better, a better person at the end, fine. But it shouldn't be that whole mentality, like, well, because I had it really hard, and it was like do or die, or it was like it's me versus you in all aspects of life, that you need to feel this exact same path. And I do think that it's definitely a very old school mentality. Like, I'm not a wrestler, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know what it was going in like the 80s and like 70s as far as wrestling was going. But I also know is like, well, let's call a spade a spade. What happened to half those wrestlers from that time period? A lot of them are not even here anymore, and so in general, just that whole attitude of like, we have to haze the new guy, we got to treat the new guy kind of shitty. And I'm not saying, this is again not to say not to earn your stripes, not to say you have to get through your hassles, because everybody, especially you're just starting off, you have to learn, you have to get better, you have to perfect what it is that makes you you. And so that's a normal thing. But to have the whole mentality like a lot of the older school wrestlers have, where you got to all struggle and all be angry and sad at the time, it was just like, I definitely feel it was a bit petty, and that is probably my issue with not just wrestling in general. Like, a lot of the sports type things, you have that attitude where it's like you have to do this really hazing type behavior, or where it has to be like almost bullying type behavior to the new guy. And it's just not always necessary. I feel like you can kind of maybe, I know the wrestling business could be that one guy that might take your spot, and I understand in that level, like, you might be a little concerned, like, oh, what if this promoter like this guy a little more than me, I don't get as booked as much. So I understand, I guess, that part. But I definitely felt like it was just very petty. Like, it's like, okay, why are you like, I get he's the new guy, but you don't have to be like a douche about it either. And so I definitely understood the whole thing when he's like, he had to kind of get them to respect him. And so I definitely appreciated that. What are, I guess, your thoughts as far as like when he was kind of starting off and they show him like hosting, like hosting stuff? What were your thoughts about that before we really saw him starting to wrestle?
Okay. So I'm gonna trail back 1 second. I just want to say we've already seen the worst that it could be when you deal with the whole hazing and all that stuff. When we did the Dynamite Kid episode for Dark Side, it's unnecessary because it could is consequences to it. We clearly saw there was some big consequences for that. I just feel like it's so unnecessary. It's like they were saying basically that the Miz, he shouldn't be here and he's not a threat and he's all these things and he's terrible. If he's all these things, why are you so intimidated by him? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like intimidation when you're so bothered by someone that you have to haze them. There's a sense of intimidation there. If you feel so compelled to beat someone down, if you know someone is beneath you, you really feel no need to engage. But in terms of the whole the Ryan Seacrest of WWE, I felt like at the time, I felt like it was a perfect fit for him. And I think it was good. That's why I always say I hate when people get so like bothered by, oh, they want me to be an on-screen talent. They don't want me to wrestle. Sometimes you're just a better fit somewhere. Miz is one of those people, he's a good fit for both. But I'm just saying, it's not like some evil thing if they want you to do like hosting or anything like that. At the end of the day, they still want you to be on TV, and that's the point, is you want to be on screen. You want to get time. That's the main thing. So I hate when people take it as almost like an insult. Oh, you want me to be this and not this? Either way, they're still complimenting you and saying, we want you, your face, on our, program. So I thought it was a good start for him, and I felt like it was perfect, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely agree with regards to sometimes you gotta get your foot in the door where you can get your foot in the door. Like, yes, I get sometimes it might feel a bit disrespectful, like, oh, you're not believing me in this regard, but sometimes that can work out in the correct way if you just do probably like again, I don't want to sit here and act like wrestling can be really funny sometimes when one minute you're on top, the next minute you might not be on top. It's a really like sometimes you it's not always a certain thing in wrestling. Like any little thing can happen, you can lose your job, you get injured, and so I get that. But in regards to I guess when you're talking about WWE, which is meant to kind of entertain, like yes, there's wrestling, but there's also that entertainment aspect. And so I definitely also thought like you think about like how that time period was back then. You had like TRL. You had like if pop culture was such a thing, like where wrestling was involved with a lot of pop culture. You had people popping up on, it was a WWE. How was that was called in Times Square? The damn restaurant that they had back then. I can't think of the name, the full name, correct name of it. But like the TRL aspect where you're like having interacting with people like that was a really big thing back then, and so I felt like that was actually perfect for somebody who came from reality TV. um Kind of migrate into let's have like you talking to the audience, you're introducing people because it's kind of like you're kind of interacting, and so in the and that's all good. So yeah, I feel like for the Miz, because the Miz was also somebody who did like talk a lot. He was always kind of like he's gotten better on the mic. Definitely, I felt like his promo game clearly improved. But for that time period, we had like things like all these video shows. You had the fans and like where the fans want to feel somewhat connected to what's going on. I thought that was actually perfect to kind of get yourself out there. Was the Miz in the beginning when he started wrestling kind of like, bro, what's happening? Like, you kind of like, it looked super like generic. Like you making your wrestler on 2K and you don't really know what you want to do with your character and you just put some random gear on and you don't really know what's happening. He definitely gave me the generic vibes in the very beginning. But as you saw, he increasingly got better. And I think his attitude, like, the attitude that he had, like, obviously he's not necessarily like I don't want to say he's an asshole in real life because I don't know him personally, but clearly he's able to tune that like people don't like I rub people the wrong way, and he said that like he knows he rubs people the wrong way. Let me turn that up to 100, and so I appreciated that. Hey Shanti, thank you so much for popping in. Love you, and knock your class out. I don't know what class it is, but whatever you're doing, kick ass and all that good stuff. Definitely all that good stuff there. But yeah, so I was okay with it. I thought it was a nice intro into wrestling. Like I said, I kind of like back then I was in and out of wrestling because wrestling sometimes questionable. There was moments where I'm like I didn't watch for months at a time, and I'm like, let me pop back in and see what's going on. Like I don't know if I like this. Let me come back later on. So I definitely was in and out of wrestling at the time, but I definitely remember him from the World War. I definitely remember him kind of always kind of like you're kind of annoying to an extent. Like you're that one person like oh. Like, you're in class and somebody says something, you're just like, yo, shut up. Like, that vibe. He gave me that vibe where you're like, why are you going to be that one person always saying something in class? Like, you can't, like, we were trying to go home and here you go going to make a comment and now we're in trouble. That kind of vibe. And so, he did definitely give me that, but I definitely do appreciate what he was able to do. How did you feel, I guess, when he was, I guess, exploring how he kind of became the real world guy to all of a sudden, he's just like kind of like I'm better than everybody. I'm an A-lister. He did his little Marine 3 movie. I don't think he was he in 2. I know he was definitely in 3. I think 3, 4, and 5. I cannot remember if he was in 2.
Yeah, I think he was in 3.
I know he was definitely in 3, 4, and 5. I just don't remember who was 2. If there was a 2, I can't remember.
5. I could be wrong though. I mean,
hey Ron, what's up? Hey.
Hey Charmaine, how are you, darling? I don't know why that.
Yeah, I so even with the Marine, let's call a spade a spade. The Marine was hot garbage. I felt like all the Marines definitely was. Let's include John Cena too. Love you, John Cena, but that Marine movie was really questionable. with that other Kelly Clarkson that was not Kelly Clarkson that we all know. With that actress Kelly Clarkson. I was just like, what is this? And I was highly John Cena did a smart move and got better with his acting skills because look at him now. But yeah, I mean, he really came back doing the Marine with this whole like, oh, I am real better. And so it's like, that, like, you're not even like an A-list Hollywood movie star. You're like that random guy you would maybe go straight to like DVD or like straight to VHS back then, where you really didn't get to the movie, but you're starting to feel yourself now. They did a couple. That's the vibe I got from his character. Like, oh, you got that straight to DVD acting, and you sit here act like you better than people, like your audacity. But it worked. Like, it was annoying, but it worked. So I guess what was your process when he was explaining that part?
I loved it, and I love that he also touched on the fact on who kind of influenced him when he's brought up Andy Kaufman. I was like, that's really cool. And then when he brought it up, I actually was like, oh yeah, okay. Once he said it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. I see the similarities. I see the influence. And I loved it. I think The Miz is one of the most like creative wrestlers, like in wrestling in general, like ever. Like the way he's able to just come up with something, throw it out there, try it. He's always up to trying new things, and most of the time these things work out. And I've always been so impressed with The Miz and how he's willing to just put himself out there, whether people are gonna like it or not. So I loved it.
Yeah, I definitely did appreciate, like, I guess that it kind of like, again, he's a person that you kind of get a little agitated with because he has that whole like, you kind of get under my skin, and I'm not really sure why you guys are much get under my skin. And so that was cool. And then he started mentioning his John Cena feud, and so I did appreciate him mentioning that because a lot of people did come for John Cena because John Cena is the top dog of he was that guy in WWE at the time, and kind of John Cena could kind of never do any wrong. He was never heel. He's always like the face of the people and the fans and everything. And so he definitely did explain himself calling out John Cena. And so that I definitely remember that as far as him being kind of like a pain in the ass and like, here you come starting this, like here you come with the shenanigans. Not that he was wrong, but I definitely understand. I guess sometimes if you want to earn respect, especially in a business like wrestling, you might have to go after the person that's the big dog. You might have to go after the person that's like the locker room guy, the locker room leader. And so, what are your thoughts about that? Because I know John Cena isn't even replied to it. I believe on Twitter he responded to that part of the episode in regards to like the Miz kind of calling him out, and I thought that was pretty cool. I feel like I gotta try to find the actual quote John Cena says. Yeah, I found. Yes, listen, I did this quickly. So it says, "I do vividly. You worked your ass off on the road to the event, and at the event itself, sacrificing your body during the event to do all you could to give the audience every ounce, every possible at the expense of your own memory. Your passion and dedication hasn't never ever changed." And I think he's talking about the WrestleMania match that him and the Miz had. So the fact that John Cena even like responded to it, just to kind of say like, no, Miz, I definitely respect you too. The people, again, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know how people are in the locker room. I do not work for WWE. I do not wrestle, and so I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know how wrestlers are in the locker room. That would be ridiculous of me to assume. But the fact that he acknowledged it, like, yes, you definitely was somebody that we worked, we did what we were supposed to do for that WrestleMania. And so I guess what were your thoughts as far as his feud with John Cena? Doing the shenanigans, because he definitely was doing shenanigans, and I guess even John Cena kind of admitting like, yeah, like respect.
I mean, I've always felt like that was a star-making feud for The Miz. It was very integral to who he is today. Yeah, them going over him when he did the Rock impersonation. I'm sorry, that was hilarious. I forgot how absolutely hilarious it was and how he was so into it, and he really did absolutely everything exactly like the Rock. Like he was so into it. Most people maybe they might have cracked or smiled after a while. Like New York is alive today. I just want you guys to know that New York is very alive. But man, it was so good. And then the Miz kid, the angry Miz girl, that's the whole Slammy acceptance. Like you could see the shift. I feel like after like within the feud and after, you could see the shift in him starting to believe his own sauce.
Yeah.
You can tell when a wrestler starts to believe their own sauce, and I was so happy to see it because he seemed at home the minute he embraced it. So I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was great. Obviously, I'm always annoyed because I feel like he was very overshadowed by The Rock at that time. But I mean, he made the most of it, and honestly, he's so much better for it.
Yeah, I definitely. When you could get a situation where you got a fan reacting like that upset. Now that question, this was me. I definitely as a kid with certain wrestlers. Randy Orton was good for pissing me off as a kid. Like growing up, he was just always. I'm like, girl, Edge. Like so I appreciate them now as an adult, but as a kid, they just irked my soul so bad. I'm like, why do you gotta keep messing with my face? Why are we doing it? And I used to be really upset. And we give you started how I used to be bad. Like Edge, Randy used to really piss me off. Fucking Triple H used to piss me off, and I'm like, why do you guys keep messing with my face? Why can't you leave them alone? Even though, like, as a kid, you're not understanding that this is what they're supposed to do. So the miss, her face during that when you could tell she was pissed, I'm like, I felt that. As a fan, I felt that because I've made that face upon many faces. When my fave, here comes the heel just messing with my person, and now I'm upset at the screen for like an hour. I'm just frowning at the screen like they can see me upset, but I was upset. So that was a relatable. Like, I understood that because I've done that a lot over the people I like over the years. People kept. I'm like, so nobody else mad? Like I'm mad.
Like, still making that face. What do you mean? I made it last week. Like
I make it sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. There's something I'm like, come on. But the kid like Roman, I like Roman, and he's like a heel right now, and so it's all as well because he's heel, and so it's all right when he does shenanigans. But otherwise, yes, there has been quite a few people. I'm like, come on, mad at the TV screen, looking like. What is this? And so I understood her feelings because she had said that was just like a lot of anger. And why I know now she doesn't feel that way, it's just nice to see. Like that was a relatable. Like as a fan, it was relatable. Like I understood that wrestler just irking you so much that you're kind of like, why are we doing this? And so I understand that. I also definitely felt that by that point he was definitely coming into where he is now, like where he was like, yeah, I'm a bit narcissistic. I'm a bit egotistical.
okay.
I'm kind of selfish. I will kind of do and say what I need to do to get to the next point, but it works so well that you're like, you're not like, I don't like him, but I respect it. And I think that's what he was trying to do is just make sure that those he worked with respected him. Like, yes, he didn't have the same level of like, I didn't want to be, he wasn't talking about I was training at 3, I was wrestling at 12, I went overseas, and maybe he didn't have that same experience, and that is fine, but he still like worked. Again, he's been very consistent. And people complain, I'm like, you also be like, it might can be like a bit boring sometimes if somebody always thinks you're the person that's always reliable, but it's also like a compliment in a way because it's like, well, you're that person we know is going to deliver. You're that person that's going to do what we need done. That's a good compliment when the people trust you enough that, if you give this person the situation, they'll handle it and work with what they got. Even if the situation is a bit questionable, you're like, why is this even a storyline? They're doing the best they can, and he's somebody who usually produces well no matter what the situation is, going with him. And so that's, everybody can't pull that off. There's some wrestlers like, like I feel like Kevin Owens is an example, Sami Zayn is an example. You kind of put them in a situation and you're like, how well can you, and they always play it off. No matter what the scenario is, they play it off well enough that you're sitting here like, this might be a little bit believable because of how well they're able to kind of, and so the Miz is somebody who can do that. And so they mentioned, I guess, that whole segment with Daniel Bryan at the after what was that? I don't want to. That's not the bump. What was the after show called?
It was Talking Smack.
Yes, Talking Smack. And so they talked about that segment, and I remember that's one of his actual promos, and I know it was a bit of a shoot. But that was one of his promos I can still remember very well, like now. Like it's like, oh, he kind of, you're right. Like I can't even say like, are you wrong? One of those like, you watch a movie and the villain kind of making a little bit of sense, and you're like, I mean, you're not wrong. Like you kind of thinking like maybe the person isn't wrong what they say right now. Maybe it's not as bad as we think it is. Like he definitely wasn't wrong in this scenario, and it was nice to kind of see that. I don't even think that was supposed to happen the way it did. I think he just felt so strongly about his feelings about everything that he just kind of let it rip. That even Maurice was like, after she was like, oh, and like she knew this was kind of serious. Like this wasn't even him just doing his job. It was like he kind of felt what he was saying. So what are your thoughts about that? Because that's actually one of my favorite promos of his because he was shooting a bet. Uh, with what he's saying. So what were your thoughts, I guess, about that promo about, I guess, him feeling like he was disrespected and even how his wife reacted to all of
I was getting my life. What do you mean? I was getting my life. I loved it. Like, yes, speak it. Speak the truth. I'm sorry. He was right. Like, how you and I hope that to some extent, Daniel was joking. Like, because to tell someone you think that they wrestle like a coward because they're not trying to, like, listen, we all seen yesterday. I don't know. Listen, I'm not jumping off 40 ladders for no reason, busting my bones, all that extra stuff. It's like, what did you gain after you packed your back on the floor 20 times? What did you gain? But hospital bills, like, stop. Like, literally, get mad at someone. They know how to, make sure they have longevity in this business, which is what The Miz has. He's one of the best to show that. It's ridiculous. I was getting my life. I loved it. And don't think I didn't catch they was petty balls when they kept up in that go to the bingo hole and wrestle with your indie friends. Listen. They so subtle with they petty, but I see you. And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
That was definitely petty. It was definitely reference to like indie wrestling. And again, I love nobody feeling away because I definitely love indie wrestling. I am at indie wrestling shows. I work with some indie promotions, so this is not a jab at all. But that is exactly what he was doing. He was being petty. Like I went straight to the top place. I didn't have to do indie shows. I didn't have to do developmental or anything. I went straight to the top dog, WWE. And so to me, I understood a little bit of cockiness. Like, okay, you're not lying. Again, you're not necessarily wrong. You're not wrong necessarily. Like, you can't really fault him for feeling that way. And I definitely agree. Like, again, I am one of Jeff Hardy's biggest fans. I will ride with Jeff to the very end. However, as crazy as, and that's what got me liking him anyway, him doing crazy shit and jumping off shit and doing all types of, and you're like, oh my god, stressed, but hyped, but stressed, but really hyped and like, oh my god, like, should I, my hair gonna go gray from stressing about Jeff doing shenanigans. He's like laid out for the rest of the match. He stressed me out, and he stressed me out. However, he's also been hurt many, many times. And so, you don't want to be that person whose career can be cut short because you're doing all, as cool as the high flying moves look, as cool as the aggression look, it looks cool. It can definitely take a toll on your body. It can definitely shorten your wrestling career. And so that, I didn't feel like that was, like, I get, like, Randy Orton has been injured, but you also know what to expect from Randy Orton as well. And I guess when we get to that, his episode, because he has one as well, we'll discuss more about that. But even, like, just knowing kind of, like, I can do what I need to do as a job, and I can still wrestle. When you can hit 15 years, 20 years, and you're not really badly injured, or you're not out for a year or two, hoping you can even get back into the ring because something happened during a match. And so I don't think necessarily it was a coward thing in regards to what Daniel Bryan said. So I understood why he was a little bit upset. I was like, you're not wrong. Like, that kept you wrestling for as long as you did. And so I definitely, I was like, I remember when I first saw that promo, and I was like, well, yeah, like, like, okay. And then you like think about it and you like rewatch it at whole promo, and I'm like, but he's not necessarily wrong. Like, was it a bit like maybe rude the way you said it? Yeah, possibly, kind of rude, kind of blunt, kind of probably could have worded it a little nicer. But he's not necessarily wrong because again, he definitely has he's been around a really, really long time. Like, he's been able to wrestle consistently. Like, again, like, he could come back, he'd be gone for a couple of weeks, come back, and he's not like really badly. Definitely bad guy Jack. Definitely shouldn't always depend. And again, I'm not gonna go on a rant on people's feeds. I will not rant on that today. I will not do that today, but definitely shouldn't always, like, again, Jeff Hardy is the reason I'm like got obsessive. Like Shawn Michaels, yes, but Jeff Hardy was that guy who was in crazy shit, and so I get it. But also Jeff Hardy doesn't wrestle the same because of all of that clear like toll on the body. It takes a toll. I personally couldn't do it. Like, I don't even want to take a bump in the ring. Just like falling to the mat seems like a bit much for me. I'm like, oh, you want me to land on them? You want to do what? Like, I mean, we don't need to do that as a regular person. So to flip off of something, or to like land on the floor or take a. I'm not personally. I wouldn't do that. That would not be my wrestling style. And so I understood that level of just like, yeah, but look at me now. Like, Daniel Bryan at some point while he is wrestling again, he did have that. You may not wrestle again, bro. You may not wrestle again. Like this might end very badly. And while luckily, everything worked out for Daniel Bryan, he's able to, wrestle still and thrive, and that's fine. However, let's not act like that was very questionable if he ever going to wrestle again because some of the injuries he's taken, some of the tolls, and so I don't think he was necessarily wrong there.
Right.
So they mentioned his wife, and Marisa, she Sissy Slane. I tell people like, listen, not that I really have like a real opinion about her because like I do know she actually knows some like I think martial arts. I believe she has a black belt. So Sis knows her shit, but they never really let her do too much during her time when it was like that diva era of like, that era of women at that time were like Michelle McCool and Layla. They didn't really like, none of the women really got to show what they could do at that time. It was a different level again. Like we had the Attitude Era, and we also knew the Attitude Era where we had China and Jackie, and they were women who could wrestle. We also know there was bras and panties era. Let's not call a spade a spade. And so during the Divas era, they were pretty, but they didn't do a lot of like where we can see them really showcase skill. So Maurice clearly has some skill. But I did like how he was talking about as far as him meeting his wife and how he's like he got the baddest one. And I'm like, you know what? That's how you represent your woman. I respect like, the way he talks about his wife. It's like that's what you want your man to talk about you like that. You want somebody to compliment you so much that you're like, oh, okay, thanks. Like you might get a little cocky because of how they complimented you. I feel like he definitely always hype up his wife, and I appreciate that so much. It's just so nice. Like he goes, well, look who I married. Like look at her. Like
Yeah.
look at her. I think a post he put was it a few days ago? Might have been like Friday or Saturday. He posted some picture.
He's always
And
posting selfies. Like, damn, there's
and
nothing.
he was like she's wearing like, the lingerie thing, and I think and I'm like, sis, yes, not me, but yes, yes, sis, do you? I loved it, and so I love how he talks about his wife. He definitely always puts her, and I respect. I think it's like men do this more. Not saying women shouldn't do it. Women, if that's what you got, do you. But you know what I mean. Sometimes men be downplaying what they got. He be holding his woman up to very high levels, and I appreciate that so much. I think it's so nice that you can see that I got like one of the baddest women in the world. I got her. Like she married me. I'm not that bad. And I guess it also kind of helped him like respect him. Like look who he got. Look who he bagged. Like that kind of, And so I definitely love that and like how she was like she knew when to like just support and not say anything and kind of let him do what he needed to do. And I respect that. I think that's kind of what led to the whole thing with his reality show Ms. and Mrs. And while I think I've only watched like 2 episodes because again I don't really watch reality TV anymore. Have you watched their show? Like how? And so what are your thoughts about I guess them getting that show, but also like how they kind of branded themselves as well?
I think it was kind of a full circle thing. I feel like it made sense. To come from reality and then you go through this whole journey through wrestling and then you end up back, on the reality TV type thing. I feel like it was just a full circle thing. And I think the show was actually pretty entertaining. Like Maurice has so much personality, and I don't know why they didn't really I wish they would have honed in more because I feel like she was also a very important important piece to him, especially when he was in some of his best, time as a heel. But maybe they'll give her own episode because I mean she was a damn good heel even on her own. So maybe she's getting her own. But I was like, I wish they would have focused in on that because they were very good and she was so important to a very that clearly she was there for the talking smack. It was an important time period for Miz and his character and his growth. But yeah, I love the show. I think they're so cute, and I just love them. I think they're so cute, and I love their love. I love how he always talks about the minute he saw her that he was in love. Oh, my heart.
Definitely the heart moments because again I write romance. I love happy ever afters. I love that like true love. That is so mean, Rod. Again, I do not watch it because I just don't watch reality TV in general. I can't because I feel like I didn't get any drama necessarily from his show. I don't think I really saw like drama from the 2 episodes I got to watch. I just can't do reality TV, and so I don't want to say like for sure how the show is. I don't know, But I definitely agree that it was kind of full circle with regards to that's where you started reality TV. You was the guy who wanted to be in WWE. You wanted to be the wrestler. You was telling your real world housemates how much you want to do it, and then you got wrestling. You got some movies, and now you got your own reality like empire. You have you and your wife kind of in charge. You have your own show, and so that definitely was full circle for him. I definitely agree with regards to like I do love like again. I'm sure it's not perfect because nobody's relationship is ever perfect. You know,
Yeah.
if anybody says that they're totally lying, like there's nobody has a person, no matter how long they're with somebody, you're gonna disagree, you're gonna be days, you might not like a person, they might get on your nerves. So I'm not gonna sit here and act like they're a perfect couple because there's no perfect couple, but I definitely do feel like there's a lot of respect between the two of them. Like they appreciate each other, there's a lot of respect for them. And she definitely was that like you know how you get the manager who kind of puts themselves in situations to kind of help their person win shit. She was definitely that person that if she needed to be there a little bit, she was there doing what needed to whatever she was needed to do, like,
Die.
to get the men's what he needed, she did. And so you gotta respect, even though again you can be annoyed when heels do heel stuff, because I'm usually annoyed at heels doing heel stuff. You can also respect like, but you did what you had to do, sis, for him, and I respect it. And so it was just nice to kind of like and by the end of the episode, I guess when he was like they respected him, and I'm like, yeah, like, well, how could you not respect him? He's if nothing else, you don't have to be his best friend or have to be kumbaya and sharing secrets at 2 a.m. But you can respect what he does in WWE. You can respect what he was able to do with his brand, whatever he was do. You know, with his empire. I think that was amazing. And yes, yes, that was actually very entertaining segment. With Miz, like I said, Miz is one of the people in WWE that is very reliable. Like you kind of put him in a situation, and you might be questioning what this like. Why we do? What kind of storyline is this? Is a bit questionable, but he makes it work for him. And so not everybody can pull that off. That's a very rare trait that people can get thrown in any kind of storyline, and at least that their part of the storyline is done well. He's one of the very few that can pull that off, no matter what whatever he's thrown in, whatever WWE decides. Like, okay, we're doing this now and I don't know, he likes everything they put him in, but he definitely is one of the few that can handle that. Like you're gonna expect him to do what he needs to do for this moment, whatever that storyline is, whatever the goal is for this. He does what needs to be done. And again, everybody cannot do that. Very few wrestlers could pull that off. That you can throw them in any scenario, and they're gonna be okay in the scenario. You're not gonna be like, oh, like I don't want to see you in my like. Why are you here? I don't want to see you on my TV. When you get the TV, you're like, now you're over it, and you're just like, oh, I'm okay if I turn the channel at this time. Like again, the Miz kind of irritates me a bit, but again, he's also somebody you can kind of he's reliable, he's very consistent, and gets it. But longevity is not something all wrestlers have, unfortunately. Yeah, gotta get to New York, gotta get to New York in there, Definitely somebody who I like you gotta respect. Like I said, there's a few people I hated growing up. Fucking
Yeah.
Randy, Edge used to piss me off like no other. But as an adult, you kind of like, you know what? And see, Edge is somebody who was lucky enough to be able to come back. We wasn't sure we would ever see Edge again too. And so that heel stuff that he was doing though, and especially with like the Hardys, I was like, listen here, Adam. Listen here, Adam. What are we doing right now, Adam? And so people start getting their first names and they do shenanigans. I start calling them government names. Don't play with me. And so, yes, and I would have definitely liked to see. I was actually very unfortunate that clearly they was going to have them beef, and because the Miz and Morrison worked very well together, like they had chemistry that worked off each other. One is super egotistical, the other one super egotistical, a bit narcissistic, and so it worked. And so I definitely was looking forward to see them when they do it, or they were gonna like feud. And then he got fired, and I'm like, well, I guess we're not gonna see that in here at least. So whatever. But I definitely would have loved to see what they would have done with that feud. I think it would have definitely pulled off some good. Like I said, the Miz would have probably dug. The Miz would have went for the juggler because he always does. He would have said something super disrespectful. You're like, well, damn, man, you're not wrong. You didn't have to say that. Like you like, out. Because he was good. He's good for that. He's good. Like you're like, goddamn, you just did you have to say that? Like you're right, but you didn't have to say that loud. Like you didn't have to. You didn't have to do that. He was good. He's good for that. And so I definitely think he would have definitely went for the juggler with Morrison. He would have definitely went below the belt as he does. But it would have been entertaining. But unfortunately, we don't get that. So maybe we'll see. Maybe in some other alternate verse, the Morrison comes back, or they do that forbidden door and things open and you know we we get
if he wants to, of course. But they really should bring Morrison back if he's open to, of course. Not to try and make him seem like somebody that's like, I need it, bring me back. Like if he is open to it, he wants to. I definitely think we should revisit that. I think that was a terrible, terrible, person to release. He's so talented, and I feel like he had gotten to this really good play. Like him and Miz had a really good thing going. I really don't understand. I don't know. I feel like they had a little bit more in them, and we didn't even get a closing out. They should have never. When we talking about John, I'm sorry, but I was mad about it.
No, listen, I was like, we saw it starting to happen. They started like, you're like, oh, they gonna break up soon. You just know when a team about to break up, they start not on the same page. And so I saw it happening, and then he was gone. And I was like, oh, okay, well, okay, I guess well, never mind then. I don't know who I would root for this feud because you just got rid of it too quickly. So yes, I also think John Morrison is actually very talented as well. I wasn't feeling his like hairstyle sometimes because I didn't know what he was doing. It gave me like he might ask for the manager vibes.
The blue was a sin.
He might go to the store and be like, "Can I speak to the manager?" And you're like, "Okay, here you go, starting. Like you're gonna be that person today." He gave me those vibes. He did, but I do think he's very talented, and so it is unfortunate that we didn't get to see what they could have done. But if he comes back, if he definitely wants to, I'm always going to protect your peace. And so whatever that may be for you as far as company, like if you gotta go to another company to protect your peace, do that. I don't really buy a whole like let me badmouth this company I left. I feel like that's ridiculous because it's like, well, we all have a job we may not have liked. I will tell you quickly how I fucking hate Toys R Us, and so like that job made me hate retail in general, and so I get that. When your boss is like, oh, if the purge happened, people were threatening his life. I was like, yeah, you clearly, you kind of shitty if people was like, if the purge happened, they would go for you. So I totally understand, like, having that boss when you're like, yo, I don't really like you. But you don't need to have this whole, like, 3-month tour of how you don't like the other company.
Right.
It's totally unnecessary. I don't really think he said too much about it. And so, like, he had some thoughts, but he didn't really keep going on and on about how he just hated WWE and all that crap. And so, hopefully, if whatever works that happens, we'll see. As far as this question, about his face run, it wasn't bad, but I always thought I liked him better as a heel. I feel like some people just do heels better. Like Triple H again used to piss me off as a kid. He's always doing shenanigans. But as I thought about it, I'm like, but you was better as a heel. The couple of face times you have was like, I mean, I guess he was better as a heel. I think Miz plays the heel better. Like Seth Rollins is somebody who, while his face is not bad, he does so much more with being a heel. And I feel like heel gives you more room to kind of be. Heel usually gives you more room to kind of maneuver how well you can toe a line, how well you can cross the line. It gives you more room to kind of negotiate with how you're going to play your character, play your gimmick, because you're kind of, heels can be kind of shitty. They can be kind of mean. They can kind of be like, ouch, hurt your feelings, make you feel away.
There's they do opportunity. And
so sometimes everybody can't pull off that face run when you're like really like, yes, they're an amazing face and you just want them to, very few people can pull that off well. A lot of people, but Miz is definitely somebody who I feel like he's one of those natural heels that you're like, yeah, you're gonna be face, you're gonna turn soon. You're gonna be a face for like a month, you're gonna be heel in about a month. Like he doesn't do face to me long enough. Like he does heel better. And so it was good. Again, he's somebody who's very consistent in what he does. And he's reliable, but I think I like him better as a heel. I feel like even though he annoys me,
yes,
that's what a good heel does, right? You kind of want to punch them or something, and
everything. Honestly, yeah.
So I think I definitely feel like that's supposed to be it. Like he can definitely do face. Like face is good, but heel is way better. He's one of those wrestlers that's just better. Like when Randy was face, I was like, yay, finally he was face. But then he was like, you know what though? I kind of like you being rude. Like. When he was punch kicking everybody, I was like,
I don't like him as a face at all.
I was okay. Like there was that 1 month where he was kind of face when he came back and everybody was cheering. I was like, yeah, I think it was during the Thunderdome ever when he came back. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of hyped for face Randy because, right, it's been gone a little bit minute. Like you haven't been here a while. I'm hyped to see you too, but you don't expect him to be face for long. And so like when he turned heel, I was like, okay. He's going to be heel soon. It's coming. And so he's just one of those natural heels. Like, they're better being that guy, that kind of that asshole. So yeah. But I guess because we pretty much got to all of it, what are your like final thoughts about the episode?
I loved it because I feel like they were finally giving The Miz the flowers that he honestly should have had a long time ago. I feel like the tides really turned for him and everyone really giving him his respect after that talking smack promo, and I'm just happy that now we can see a full almost 15-minute episode giving this man the flowers, the love, and respect that he has always deserved. Because a lot of people, with the stuff that he had to deal with, would have probably packed up and left. I will always have respect for The Miz, and I will always just support him. I'm always going to support him. I'm going to support his show, Maurice. I love Maurice too. I won't get into that, but that was
Yeah, no, Maurice she's great. Like, I'm not gonna say that I was like watching her wrestling hard, because that time they really wasn't focused on that. But like Sifty, like with the outfits, I'm like, listen, like she be slaying. I'm like, all right, okay, all right, Maurice. Like she always comes dressed. She is always dressed. Like she come out like knowing what it is, and I love that so much that she's so like that. I love that. If Matt Riddle becomes a heel, I don't know. I thought I wouldn't buy him as a heel, honestly.
It's like RVD as a heel.
I just feel like certain people, like Randy's. I feel like Randy's face right now, because the whole thing with him, Matt Riddle, and it works. And you see, like Randy breaks gimmick a lot sometimes, and you see him laughing, and he probably shouldn't have laughed, but he laughed. And I'm like, oh, he definitely broke character just now. But I feel like I don't see him being heel long. I just feel like he doesn't give me the vibes that he naturally. I'm gonna buy it. Like, to make me believe you're a heel, and I don't get that from Matt Riddle. So I don't know, but maybe we'll see. But just to piggyback what True was saying, yeah, I definitely I did respect him before. I guess seeing it from that perspective in regards to like how he really had to deal with all that. Personally, I just don't do well with BS, and so I probably would told people off, and I probably lost my job. To be honest, I'm like, first of all, you're not gonna be hazing me. We're not doing any of those malarkey. We're not doing any of that malarkey, no those shenanigans. They're gonna talk to me all kind of crazy. Because one person talks to me wrong, any person, I'm already ready. Like, excuse me, like, we'll try that again. let's do this again. You're gonna talk to me correctly. And so I know how I am in general, and so I know I cannot be in an environment like that, because we're gonna probably be arguing and fighting every day, because you're not gonna talk to me all kind of crazy. I don't care who you are. I don't care. You could be working here for 20 years. That's nice. Good for you. You was working 20 years, but you're not gonna be talking to me all kinds of crazy. Like, I can respect that you worked here a long time, but you're not talking to me all types of crazy that I'm supposed to take it because I'm the newbie.
Right.
Absolutely not. And so I personally know the way my attitude is set up, and not that like I just want to be starting people, but I just don't do well with disrespect in general. Mm-hmm. My tolerance level for disrespect is very low, because I don't like people just being all rude for no reason. It's like, why are we here? Why are we here in this? Why are we here? And so no. Personally, if this was me, I would have probably lost my job, because you're not going to talk to me all kind of crazy. You're not. I don't care who you are. So, power to him, because that would not have worked too well for me. I would be like, excuse me?
Go to hell.
Like, I don't care about your match. You had 5 years. I don't care. And then, yeah, I would have lost my job. And so, clearly, that's not meant for me to deal with all those type of shenanigans, because I would have lost my job quick.
Not literally, because it's like... It's not that big of a deal. Some of the stuff, I'm like, it's not a fraternity, for God's sakes. Like, let's tone it down a bit.
And that's something I hate in fraternities. Like, why are you gonna haze? Why? Like, if you want to pull like that one prank, fine, I guess. But we don't need to do like a whole weeks and months of pranks and being rude for no reason. Like, why are we like, grow up?
It's like, so decided to normalize this behavior.
And it is normalized. I tell people all the time, it's like, oh, but it's normal, because you guys say it's normal.
Boys.
As soon as you say it's not normal and change that, it won't be normal. You guys normalize nonsense and shenanigans. And so, power to him for being able to stick it out, and people now respect him, and he has his own empire. But I just know that was me. Right. Like, if Undertaker would have been like, oh, in my day, I don't care about your day, I would have just shut that right down, and then I would have lost my job. I'm like, listen here, Mark. I don't care. Gotta always go to the government names.
Not please.
That's good for you, Mark. Good for you. I don't care. And so I would have got fired. Vince would have called me to the office. I would have lost my job. So better you Mike this than me. Exactly. Nope, not gonna be me.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying I need to have my own personal locker room if I just started, but we can at least be in the same locker room. Okay, we don't. Why am I in the public restroom with regular fans?
Right.
Nope, that would have got me right there. I'm like, so first of all, let's we're gonna have a discussion, and then I'm gonna get fired. So I already know my attitude is like I'm not changing the regular back room because why are we being this disrespectful? And then I would have lost my job. Vincent was like, you know what, Katrina,
Right.
good luck on your future endeavors. And then here we are. Then I could have done the podcast tour about how everybody's terrible in WWE. That could have been me. But since that's not me, because I know how I am, I know my personality, I know how I am, I just don't do well with shenanigans, I don't do well with disrespect. I just don't. And so, not me, better him than me. But definitely respected him a lot more after this. And I hope to see what he does in another 5 years. Like maybe we'll see in 10 more years and he's still in WWE and still being a pain in the ass. But like I said, he wrestles not crazy enough that he can still probably go to near 50 and you're not like, put it up, dude. You know, like how Undertaker was looking at some of those matches in the end and you're like, just put the hat down, Undertaker. It's fine. Just turn back around on the ramp and go back.
Put the hat.
You don't want to get to that point where you're sitting there like, why are you still wrestling? Like, so I'm hoping he has still more time where he can still do his thing. But I feel like even if not, he can still do his movies. You know, his D-list movies. I think he still has his reality show. It hasn't been canceled or anything, and so he still has things time to do. And I feel like he has a personality that if he leaves wrestling, he can do hosting or something. Like I see that he can do that, and it's not going to be like he's going to be struggling after wrestling.
He's set. Period. Yeah, he's set.
Yeah, I feel like he has that. Like now, he can fall back on stuff when he does decide to step away from the ring. So we are now at the end. So tell the people what you got going on, where they can find you, and all that good stuff.
This dog. Oh my god. So I have my Twitch, which is Shay Sawyers. It just says Shay Sawyers. And I mean, you can go there. I'm usually streaming a large majority of the week. Usually always at 7. Just come watch. We do a lot of different things. I'm thinking about doing something a little different today. I might do a watch along. Who knows? And catch me on Tuesdays, of course, on Unpopular Review as I review NXT with my awesome co-host, Bad Guy Jack. And I yell at him because he'd be deserving it most of the time.
Oh man, listen, that I was definitely yelling at people. Well, not really. I think the person I really argued with was Chris on Unpopular. When I was doing Unpopular, I'm like, here you go. And so I understand it happens sometimes. You gotta just argue with your co-host. But for me, I feel like I'm doing a lot of stuff. So I do have YouTube. I did slack a bit with my videos because I just been like busy and then I got lazy and I'm like, I'm gonna like switch and edit. I don't know. And so you will be catching. I will be doing a review for the Batman. I should have done it a while ago, but since it got back on HBO Max and everything, I'm gonna get my review going about the Batman. So that will be next. I did schedule some other interviews and hopefully that's coming soon. But I do have interviews up there if you like wrestling, anime, pop stuff, random stuff. My YouTube channel is like random. It's like all types of stuff on that channel. Catch me there. I am also on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that crap. I am on all of those sites. And then I do women's wrestling talk as well. So when I'm doing panels or interviews on there, I'm also writing for them. And so you can catch me there. And I'm trying to get with Twitch. It's just I have not had a chance to sit down because I know I said I want to play with Shay. We're going to try to play a game at some point. So we can at least stream, both of us can stream that game, and it's probably going to be a lot of shenanigans. I know me and the film, like, yo, what is this? You're going to hear me stressed. And I'm going to try to start doing some watch-alongs on Twitch as well, because I did want to rewatch Naruto, one of my favorite animes, and so it just, the first time, it was a weird thing with Twitch and Amazon, I had to figure that out, and so hopefully very soon I can do a watch-along with some anime, my favorite animes, and you guys can sit there and we can chat it up. And then catch me also, I do commentary with EFED on Friday nights. Glory Pro, I do commentary, color commentary, and clarify that. I don't do play-by-plays. I'm not that good to know people's moves. I'll completely mess that up. So color commentary, you're going to see me doing that if you want to see me do commentary. So.
Yeah!
That's where you can find me. Definitely check out Unpopular Review. They have lots and lots and lots of shows, lots of content for whatever your thing. If you like wrestling, if you like reality TV, if you like movies and all that good stuff. I believe there's some gaming happening on UPR as well. They have the game stuff happening too.
Yes,
So
they
if you
do.
like that stuff and it's your jam, definitely hit subscribe and follow and all that good stuff. And until next week, which will be Sasha Banks, Miss Boss herself, which is also a super awesome episode. And so I can't wait to talk about that. We will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Okay, I'm gonna hold this up.